Hello and welcome to Fire in the Belly. Today we have myself, Pete Launton, and we also have Oskar Lipinski. Good afternoon.
Hello, how are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Please tell me I've pronounced your surname correctly.
Yeah, probably one of the few people that actually do, because not a lot of people get my surname right.
It's certainly a bit
So
different. No, that's cool. So tell me, who are you? Just give us a bit of background.
yeah, so my name is Oskar Lipinski. I'm actually originally from Poland, and I moved here when I was about 5 or 6. Can't really remember now. I suppose I've been in Ireland last, well, I think it's 11 or 12 years now. And I recently just moved to Cork as well on my own, and I'm 18 years old as well. I'm also the founder and owner of a clothing brand called Club Deluxe. So yeah, that's I suppose a little kind of short story about who I am and what I kind of do as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. So tell me, give us a bit of background. So where are you from originally then, and family and stuff like that?
So in Poland, to be honest, like I actually don't know much about like even my family back home. I only know like probably like two or three, maybe really close cousins. Other than that, like I don't actually know most of my family back there because obviously I left when I was so young, and since then I've never really been in contact. So like, I know my granny and my two closest cousins. That's about it. Like, and even at that, I barely kind of talk to them. So yeah, I kind of grew up in a small town back there, and then obviously my parents decided to move to Ireland, and yeah, that's kind of. I've also one brother and one sister, and which they live in Tipperary and Thurles, and I'm living in Cork at the moment. So yeah,
You're well spread out then.
yeah.
So where are you? Where do you come in the family? Are you oldest, middle, young?
I'm the youngest, yeah. My sister is 21 and my brother's like 23.
Cool.
So yeah.
Ah. So why did your parents just move to Ireland? Was it work or?
Yeah, I think it was because obviously back a few years ago, Poland wasn't really a great place, and there wasn't much work and stuff like that. So I think they just moved here just because of work and just to get a job and stuff like that, just to basically have a better life for us,
Mhm.
and just to kind of be able to support us a lot better financially and stuff.
Mhm.
They were first here on their own for a few years, and then they brought us over then as well.
Okay, cool. I was going to say because that's well, if you're 12, 13 years, then that's where are we there? 2008ish, something like that.
Yeah, so, something around that.
Hmm. Tough enough times. I mean, obviously with the recession and stuff there was at the time, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just actually thinking of that now. Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest reasons, probably.
Hmm. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah, so that's cool. So do you speak Polish as well as English, or?
Yeah, I would, but like obviously, like since I've kind of moved away from my family now, I don't even talk to them a few days a week on the phone.
Yeah.
So you know, it's mainly just English that I speak between myself and my girlfriend. So that's yeah, I wouldn't really talk much Polish. Like a lot of my friends, well, all of my friends are Irish. Like I don't really have Polish friends here as well.
Yeah, that's cool. So 5-year-old, you're over here. So um, straight into school then I take it for you, was it?
Yeah, I suppose I went to primary school here, and after that I went into no, I first started off with what was it, senior infants or something like that, and then obviously I moved to the primary school and stuff like
Hmm.
that. I was in three different schools, so I was in like the junior infants or something, and then I went to the primary school where you start like second class or something like that. I can't even remember now. And
Hmm.
then obviously I went to secondary school then. But I suppose in primary school, I actually done a full video about it's called The Thought That Changed My Life, and it's basically all my past and schools and when I like dropped out and all this stuff. So I suppose when I was in primary school, um, like from about fourth class, I think, or fifth class, that's when I kind of started getting into trouble and I suppose just kind of school wasn't for me in a way. Like I remember I used to always have to get pitch time, because there's like the teachers or something said like I'm a hazard to other people when you go on break and stuff. So I
Mm.
suppose like I just never really got on well in school, and then obviously when I moved on to secondary school, I had a fresh start. First and second year was okay. At the start of third year again, things started happening. I started hating school. I started hating education. Just had no interest in it whatsoever. Got as far as fifth year LCA. Dropped out of school then. Went off and done other things then as well. So that's kind of my kind of history, I suppose, on school and education and stuff.
Mm. Happy memories?
Yeah, I suppose towards the end, I just was like, here, this is just not for me, and
Mm.
I suppose it was scary taking that step of just dropping out, because it's like, how am I ever going to get a job without a leaving cert and stuff like that? And the more I started getting into self development and actually found a new way of education, I was like, here, do you know what? This leaving cert is the biggest B I've ever seen.
Mhm.
So, I suppose I back then I never thought of things that I'd be doing now. So I suppose,
Mhm.
I was always just looking at how am I ever going to get a job without a leaving cert. Whereas now I'm like, that leaving cert is just a piece of paper I can draw on for you today at my desk if you like. Nearly,
Mhm.
that's how I'd put it, because
Mhm.
there's just so many different ways around, the leaving cert and all this, and like this whole thing of people judging you by a piece of paper, like I think that is absolute nonsense. Like
Mhm.
someone basically is telling you, just because this is what you got on a piece of paper, this is your self-worth, or this is who you are, that kind of way. Like, and then
Yeah.
people go around, if they failed their leaving cert, people could go around their whole life thinking they're stupid. And it's like me, like I was never good in school. I was like, I failed like all the subjects and like the worst grades, and now I own my own business. I probably earn a lot more money than a lot of people my age. So I think this whole thing of, you have to get a leaving cert, you have to finish school, you have to go to school. I just don't. I don't. Well, not that I don't see like there's a point in it, because not everyone wants to do what I want to do in life, but I think a lot of the school education is just, in a way, false information,
Mhm.
because a lot of it we don't use, and that's not just coming from me, because obviously I have different goals in life than most people. That's coming from a lot of different people that I've asked that are in different areas of life. Some are, I don't know, just say some are learning to be pharmacists or something, and like everyone kind of said the same thing about this whole education system, that we're taught all this stuff, but then okay, how do you use it, or when do you use it in life? And a lot of people don't.
Yeah, it's just I suppose it's interesting there. Did you have any concept of what you wanted to do, going through school? Had you any ideas or ambitions?
Well, I suppose like from a very young age, I was always into cars and motorbikes and all that kind of stuff, and sports. So when I first, my first thing was always to be a mechanic, because even since this day today, like I love cars, I love motorbikes. Um, but after a while, then when was it? So I started playing sport. I started playing hurling first, and I suppose that's when I kind of fell in love with sport really, and was like, here, do you know what? I'd actually love to be some sort of a personal trainer. Um, I got into the gym then, and so when I dropped out of school, I went off and done a fitness course. And on that fitness course, when I like finished it and got qualified, I literally said to one of my tutors, his name is Alan Murphy, I goes, like, what other way can I like develop myself? What other courses can I do to like further progress in life? and he literally like recommended this book. I'm sure you know it yourself, Think and
Mm-hmm.
Grow Rich.
Mm-hmm.
So he literally recommended that book to me, and I mean, since I listened to it on YouTube first. Since I've listened to that book nearly 2 years ago now or something, like my life completely changed. And this is where I found out a lot about, the difference between school education and life education. This is where I found out about how a leaving cert doesn't matter. This is, I just found a whole new world and that I'd never seen before. And you know, the more I studied successful people, the more I found that this is the information they use and not just say too much of school information and what we're actually taught.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we're actually taught in schools and stuff, well, most people that use that information are stuck working a job for the rest of their life and they don't know about, different stuff. So I suppose that book kind of opened up a whole new world of a new way of living as well.
Well, that's interesting. So you sort of listened to it on YouTube first,
Yeah.
and that's so that, like, say you're a tutor there, and it's not as a book. It's not like a normal story. It takes a little bit of getting used to understanding the way it's written, right?
Yeah, like I mean, when he first recommended me that book, I was very close minded, and as I said before, I hated education, I hated reading. So when he told me to go listen to a book, a book, I was like, "Are you mad?" I was like, "I hate books. I hate everything got to do with books or
Mm,
education or anything." But I didn't know that I don't like school education. That's one thing I didn't know. I didn't know that there's a whole new way of educating yourself. So it was very hard for me to kind of trust him, but he was such a good guy and he helped me so much in life and even through the course we done that I just trusted him
mm,
instead of kind of going, he's full of crap or whatever. So I listened to it. I learned about goal setting. I learned a bit about myself, and that's how I kind of got into all this, and that's how it got me to kind of where I am now to developing my own courses around this education and stuff like that. So
mm.
yeah.
Just take me back a bit. I mean, the hating school and hating education. That's pretty strong language. Can I ask, was there a reason, or?
Like I don't like I mainly it's because like when I was in school, I was like diagnosed with like different um things. Like I had to take tablets for like ADHD and stuff like that, and
Mhm,
all this kind of stuff. But I suppose I was never good in school at reading, writing. So I always find it hard, and I was always that person in school that had to get extra help. So I was
mhm.
always known as that kind of stupid kid,
Okay.
as you kind of call them. So I suppose that kind of maybe ruined my self belief and my self confidence, which I didn't even know about back then. About things like this. Um, and I probably didn't just believe in myself, and I just thought nothing. Like I can't do that. I use the word I can't do this a lot probably. Whereas now, I'd never say that word really, like that kind of way. So yeah, I suppose it just wasn't for me. I was always good at math. I was always good at numbers, and I suppose this what brought me to owning businesses and stuff. Numbers was always my favorite. Adding up, numbers was kind of my favorite part of the whole education and working with uh this number plus this number equals this number, and this is how much you can make on this. And um see, I suppose in school then, they had this. I don't know if you have it in where you live, but in schools they do the what's it called then, enterprise. Where you do like a mini company in school. No,
Yeah,
what's that?
young enterprise.
Yeah, something like that. So I suppose in first year of that, myself and my friend, that's when I kind of first started, getting into the businesses and stuff. In first year, myself and my good friend came up with a thing where we made these pastries that my mom makes, and we entered the competition with them and making like popcorn, and we actually got to like, what did we get to? I think we got to the semi-finals or something, because they were like such a nice pastry and stuff, and they were so cheap to make and stuff like that. And then 2 years after that, when I was in third year or something like that, or second year, I can't remember now. I actually made Christmas trees out of pallets, and because I don't know where I seen this, but I got recycled pallets and I started making Christmas trees and cutting them out, and no one had ever done this before, and I sold them in school and made like a good bit of money off it as well, and decorated them, and it was actually a really cool idea as well. So I suppose that's when kind of maybe the and enterprise kind of thing started with me. What's that?
Do you remember how much money you made?
I think, yeah, I think it was like 500 quid or 600 quid or something.
That's
And
great.
I was like blown away by it. But then my parents were like, oh, you put so much work into it, and you got like 500 quid, like, because I was like working so hard on these Christmas trees, like cutting them
Mm,
out and like trying to rip open all the pallets, because I like to separate the wood from the pallets to cut it into shape and then drill it together. And I actually have pictures of them as well. I can send you them after this
mm.
interview. They're actually, you know what, it was actually a really, really good idea, and how I was nearly actually thinking about giving the idea to someone else or doing it myself this, some other year or something, because it is a good way to make money, because like half of the stuff I got for free, because I literally just went into some shops and I was like, look, I'm doing a school project. I need some paint. Here you go. There's some old paint. We don't need it. I went into places that have pallets. There's some pallets we want to get rid of. Here, take them away. So but yeah, but also with that, like I only literally sold that in school and I made that much money. I never put it on like Done Deal. I never put it on any of those for sale groups. Like, so I was like, this has a lot of potential. So,
Mm.
but since then, obviously, I've moved on to different things that have kind of basically nothing got to do with all that.
No, absolutely. It's no, it's always interesting because it's the same. I did the young enterprise and we did picture frames. So yeah, it's always interesting. I think it's great, to bring business in. But you just take me back a bit there. I mean, you mentioned the ADHD, and I have ADHD as well myself. But
Yeah.
did you have dyslexia as well, or is it just the ADHD? Do you know?
I see. I used to go to this counselor when I was in fifth class or sixth class, and I suppose that's when it all kind of started with me, and that's when these so-called problems started with me.
Hmm.
And I used to hate going to him, because people used to make fun of me. Like if you went to that place, you were kind of known as the slow kid or the stupid kid. So I was always made fun of because of that. Because I went into this building that all these so-called slow people went into.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I suppose again that's when my kind of confidence, I suppose, got a bit kind of, how should I call it, a bit ruined in a way.
Hmm.
When I used to go to them, and then like what was it again? I used to talk to this guy one on one and used to share my things with him, but I think he kind of annoyed me at the start, because he kept like asking the same things, or I don't know, something like that. But then as time went on, I actually really enjoyed it, and he actually
Hmm.
really did help me, and just kind of opened up a few different ways. But yeah, I suppose in school it was very hard for me to concentrate, and I was always, I suppose, the kind of class clown as well, and just making people laugh and just doing stupid things as well.
Hmm.
And I never knew why I was acting like that, whereas now I know why I was acting like that, because you know when I went off and done that course, the people you surround yourself is who you become. So when I was in school, I was with people that were younger, that were immature, that were just kind of doing stupid things. And then when I got to do that course, I was around adults and people that are, your age and stuff. And I was like, you know, I can't act this way anymore, as people just think I'm crazy. So I actually had to adapt my behavior to that
Mm,
group. And
mhm.
I suppose that's where I kind of grew up a lot more as well.
Sure, makes sense. So that course, I mean, what was involved with it? It's obviously had quite a big
It was
impact.
Yeah, it was a personal training course because obviously, that's what I got into big when I started the gym and stuff. That's what I loved and that's what I thought I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Mm,
But obviously my path's changed since then. But because of that course, um, like that's the reason why I am where I am today, I think. And through that course, it got me to where I am today, doing what I'm doing. That kind of way. So yeah, that course, it was just about being qualified as a personal trainer and stuff. And as I said, when I got qualified and I started teaching classes, I started motivating people, and I just had something that not many people, I suppose, had. And I used to always get kind of um, praised for the energy I add into people in classes and for the motivation I give them. And people used to like love when I used to do, spin classes, when they go on the bike in the gym and stuff.
yep.
So I used to do them and people used to love them. And, through that, I kind of noticed that I love the whole mindset part of all this rather than the actual physical change in someone's body and helping them lose weight and stuff. Because one of the clients I remember had, I think he was 35, 40 or something like that. And he came to me to lose weight. And, when I started studying all this personal development and about the human mind and stuff, um, I could see why he might have been losing weight or why he might have been lacking on motivation or different things like that. And
Mm,
so not only did I help him lose, like, I think it was 10 kg or 11 kg at the end, but I also helped him change his mindset about a lot of things. Because I think the mindset is the most powerful thing we have, whether you're working as, I don't know, an accountant, whether you're trying to reach your goals, whether you're working out in the gym, everything, or your mindset is very powerful to whatever you want to do in life. Because I think we study a lot of, I don't know, just say we study a lot about geography, but how many times do you study about your own mind? That's, I suppose, the most powerful thing, as I said, we have in our body. Like, you don't learn about a lot of that in school. And since I found all this, I'm like, why is this not being taught in school? Because I think a lot of the problems that teenagers, adults, everyone has at the moment is kind of, a lot of these can be answered through books and courses like this. So I'm just like, why isn't this being taught? Like,
mm. It's quite funny, and I suppose almost you've done a complete 180 or 360 on, hitting school, hitting education, and now in a slightly different format, given, but now you're saying actually by studying and by reading and
yeah,
following this is the path.
yeah, 100%. Like as I said, it's very hard for me to explain this to someone
Mm,
now,
mm,
because I think a lot of people, again, like if I recommend a book to them, their vision of a book
mm,
is, reading a novel in school. Because this is, I suppose, this kind of brings me back to where I was before, that I only seen one type of education.
mm,
I think that's where a lot of people are, where they see one type of education, or you know they're so kind of, um they could be in such a negative state as well, that they don't believe there's anything out there, any magical so-called books that could help them. And because I never knew a book could change my life, especially since, as I said, I hated education, I hated books. Like, if you told me 2 years ago that I'm going to be now spending hundreds on education and buying books, I would have said no way. Like, never in my life would I have bought a book.
mm,
I'd get books for free and I'd use them as to start the fire or something.
mm,
But again, like, when I was reading novels in school, it's like, yeah, it's cool, it's funny, but I just just couldn't relate to it, and just, and I suppose I just don't like how, no matter how different you are, and like, they teach the same thing to every single person. I think it should be kind of more adapted to each person in a way as well.
Mm.
Whereas, I think school just like throws all this at you, learn all this, study this, and then at the end of those 6 years, you have a test, and if you don't memorize it, you're not going to get these points, and then these points are going to rule the rest of your life. And then if you get 200 points, you're basically stupid for the rest of your life, because this is, and actually, funny enough, talking about the leaving certain stuff, I was listening to a guy that I'm doing the life coaching course with, which is Bob Proctor. Now, my life coach is Cleona, and he said that most of the time what was it again? He said we let the financial state, now by him saying the financial statement, this also means just a piece of paper as well, but we let a piece of paper determine our human abilities and what we can do. So as I said, going back to just say
Mm.
the leaving cert, for people that finish the leaving cert and just say get 100 points or whatever, they're like, this is so bad, you've literally failed everything, and then they judge themselves the whole life by that piece of paper that they got at
Mm.
the end of their 6 years or something. And until you start studying all this, you find out that, this doesn't matter, because as it's like, a lot of people also live in the past. So that would be a kind of an example of the past as well. That leaving cert, you done it, you failed it, and you're still living to that leaving cert in a way. I know it's kind of hard to explain. I don't know if you fully understand, but that people are living by that leaving cert, and that piece of paper is determining their future and what they're going to do in life.
Mm. Well, it's probably the piece of paper is not determining it. It's what people's perception of that piece of paper is.
Yeah, but
And
that's what I mean. A lot of people like take that piece of paper as if it's everything in its
mm,
world, and I'm a living proof that it's not. I
mm,
dropped out of school. I didn't finish any leaving cert. I now own my own company. I'm just at a place where I'd never thought I'd be. I think as humans we've so much potential.
mm,
That's just kind of in us, but not a lot of it gets to shine, and it doesn't get to kind of escape out of your body or whatever, because you know lack of um motivation, fears, disbeliefs, all this stuff is kind of pulling us back, and
mhm.
that's why we don't kind of shine, I suppose, in a way.
That makes sense. So you got to, well, you were doing the young enterprise. You done the first year, then you had your pastries. The third year, you had your Christmas trees. And so what was happening then? So
So after that, um, when I finished that course, so was it before that course or something like that? Um, I remember I started working on a farm. I was getting like 50 quid a day for doing like hard labor,
mhm,
shoving stones and all this kind of stuff. And then after that, I remember I started working in a leisure center. I done 7 months work experience there for free just to get my foot in the door. And then after I qualified with that course and I got myself a lifeguard qualification, I was then put on a wage at 6.78 an hour, even though all the other people were on like 10 something. It's again, it's because of my age. The other people were on just say like anywhere
mhm,
between 10 and 15 euros an hour or whatever. And the most annoying thing of that was that, again, I was such a valuable person to that place, because I remember they had aqua classes there where you have all these women jumping around in water. So I used to teach them, and like all the women just fell in love with me. Like I started with a class of 5 and I built it up to 30 or something. and like it's something like they've never seen before. And again, it's because of my energy and my personality that I built up, through, when I started learning about all this, I knew that whatever energy I put out is whatever energy I get.
Hmm.
So yeah, I suppose that was kind of the next thing. And then after that is where I got the job of actually working in just the gym, because, you know, back in that leisure center, I actually loved the gym more than the swimming pool and stuff, but I had to get qualified in the swimming pool first because that course was shorter than my actual personal training one. So yeah.
I like that. Well, one going back, you were saying energy out equals energy in. That's really quite a strong statement.
Yeah, like I found that in when I was doing, my personal training, when I was doing my fitness classes as well on the bikes. If I was going in there with a positive attitude, and I was ready, I was excited, I was ready to give everything to these people, that's exactly what I got from them. Like, honestly, you should have seen me teach these classes sometimes. Like, I would absolutely go nuts. I'd be shouting, I'd be roaring, I'd be, kind of, instead of being even on the bike, I'd be going around to people and motivating them, and they just got so much out of it. But again, it's true. It's true the energy I was giving them, and then there's days where I wasn't feeling so well. I didn't plan. I just went in there, kind of arsing around, and again, that's what ended up happening. So
Mm.
I did really, well, I do really believe in, whatever energy you put into classes or whatever you're doing is whatever you get back.
Mm. And interesting, you were saying obviously there that you were able to motivate other people.
What's that?
Sorry, you were saying there that you were able to, in those classes, you were actually able to motivate other people, and
Yeah.
sort of spur them on. I mean, how did that work?
Um, I I don't know. I just suppose I think it's true. This is when this was after, I suppose, I listened to this book, and I tried to use some of the tips that I learned in this book to, I suppose, help other people. And I'd used to throw in when it got really tough, because obviously, like, when you're doing them classes, you do like sprints, so which is going really fast, and then you also do climbs, which is like you put up the high resistance. And I used to just tell them that, look, like, I used to actually educate them on their mind while they're on this bike, giving it everything. And I was like, what was it I used to say? I can't even remember, but I used to like tell them little quotes, or just say if they, before the class even started, I used to write up a quote on the board or something, all these little things that I suppose got them going and stuff. And I used to have a bit of a laugh as well, just to, because obviously a lot of them were coming in and they mightn't have been the happiest, they might have had a shit day. So like I'd crack a joke with them as well, get everyone laughing. And then through that, I kind of build up their energy. And obviously, through my energy, they feed off that energy then as well. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm curious, what I mean, you've gone almost from one extreme to the other, in terms of, you know, the actual hating school, hating education through to, in a relatively short period of time, it seems that, you know, what was the turning point? I mean, was there a break point? Was there something happened or?
Yeah. Yeah, and again, um, I'm glad you asked that, because it's kind of like, where did all this happen? So I suppose, again, going back to the video that I launched on YouTube, the thought that changed my life. When I was younger, I used to hang around with people that used to rob, and you know, people that, I suppose, when you kind of see them out on the street, you're like, these are troublemakers. Now this goes way before any of these books I got and these courses I done. It goes way back. And I was really young, and I suppose, I kind of got in with them crowds. I started robbing stuff with them, and I started robbing things in shops, and then I started going on to bigger and bigger things, and started getting in trouble with the guards. And the guards are at my house every week nearly, and I was known for all the bad things. And long story short, I robbed something one day and I got chased by the guards. And luckily enough, I got away. And basically that day, I met up with one of my friends in the park, and I just said, "Look, I just have enough. I just can't do this anymore. I hate my life. I don't want to be this way." And since that day, I changed how I look. I changed my image, what I look like, the haircuts I get, the clothes I wear, how I take care of my skin, literally everything. And then I started modeling and stuff as well. And that's what I got into afterwards when I, you know, kind of, I suppose, left those old friends behind and started making so many new friends. Got into modeling. Um, Again, long story short, with that, I got flown out to Spain, England, and somewhere else. So I suppose that kind of gave me a little kickstart to what I can do, and I started growing my following on Instagram as well, doing fitness and stuff. So I was kind of doing fitness and modeling. Got really close with that company, and then one day I just thought, when I'm modeling for these companies, there's a lot of potential to start my own, and I started looking into that. And yeah, after that, then I just wrote the goal of having my own brand, which I actually have here today. Um, and yeah, that was kind of the turning point, I suppose, that you're talking about.
Mm. But that's, I mean, that point, like I say, and it's just obviously, well, in your life, it obviously come to that point where you just enough was enough.
Yeah, 100%. Um, yeah, like I'm forever grateful for that, because, as I said, that's why I named that video "The Thought That Changed My Life." Because
Mm.
if I didn't think of that and think of meeting up with my friend and just kind of spitting it all out to him, basically, and going, "Look, this is what's happening," and just, I hate my life for how it is.
Mm.
I suppose I wouldn't have what I have today as well.
What was your, was there anger, or what was your actual sort of,
Jesus, I suppose, yeah, like, I was a very negative person, in school. I could just freak
mm,
out, start cursing, throwing chairs or whatever it is, like, so yeah, there was a lot of that anger and stuff as well, and I suppose that related to my family then as well, and my family being negative and stuff like that. So, it was kind of all impacting me in different ways, and the people I was hanging around with, and the things they were doing. Like,
mm,
I'm sure you know yourself. If you do bad and if you're negative and stuff, that's all you're attracting into your life, is all those negative things and negative feelings and stuff.
mhm,
So, I've really come to a conclusion with how this education really works, because I've seen two sides of the story. One being the kind of person I used to be and the results I used to get, and the new person I am today and the results I get, and the wealth and success and happiness and everything I attract into my life these days. So, I suppose that's why I suppose, a strong believer in this new way of educating yourself as well.
mm. No, definitely. I mean, what do you know? What part of that emotion at the time was serving? What was it serving for you? Do you remember?
As in, what you mean
I
now
suppose
by?
you mentioned about the negativity and the frustration and things like that. And I'm wondering what was it giving you at the time that you needed? Do you know?
I don't know. It's like, again, it's very hard to answer, because I've reprogrammed my brain now,
Mm,
and back then I didn't know anything about myself. I didn't
mm,
know anything about any of this education. I didn't know anything about the, I suppose, human growth or human potential or anything like that. So it's very hard for me to now kind of go back to that kind of mentality or whatever I had, because obviously I've opened up my mind so much now, and I've learned so much about myself. I know a lot about myself now, and how I function what I need to do to reach some goals and stuff.
Hmm.
And also I know I can read a lot of people as well, a lot of other people, and just say if they're negative, getting negative results and stuff, I
Hmm.
can, like, I suppose, strip them down in a way, and um, kind of find out why they're getting those results and stuff as well. Whereas before, yeah, I had that counselor that would help me, but you know, it never really got to, um, I never really got to find out that much back then,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
It does, and I suppose there's parts of your story actually resonate quite strongly with me, and it comes across almost like it was a cry for help, and it's sort of like I say for me, and I know I went through school undiagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD, um, but almost the cry for help is actually to disrupt, so
Yeah,
when you can't perform or keep up with whatever it is in the class or whatever else it is, it comes out in bad behavior, which is not maliciously intended. It's just a
yeah,
case of going, well, if I can't do what everyone else is doing, then I can perform, and that's being disruptive or things like that, so I wasn't sure just whether that resonated with you. Does that make any sense?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's kind of all I can really think of
Mm, mm.
with all that.
It was interesting, and just to finish there was Prince EA. I don't know if you ever follow him, and he has a great
Prince
video.
Era,
Yeah, he
yeah, that guy's
he, he
he's unbelievable.
and he talks about the education system. He says, "Why would you teach a fish how to climb a tree?" Which to me was so clever, and it sounds like with yourself, the education system just didn't really work for you. You know, um, which is so wrong.
Yeah.
So but it was interesting. So take us on then even further. So really, you've had that conversation, you've gone through the PT, and what's happening then.
So I suppose that's when I really started getting into all this education. And that's when I wrote down my first ever goal, which is here right in front of me. This is my first ever goal that I wrote on a piece of paper.
Cool.
Um, it's I wanted to get 4,500 by November to launch my brand, and
So when
you
when
know
did you,
I
when did you set this?
so this was, geez, I can't even remember, but I know it was like I had to get this within 6 months. So whatever,
Hmm.
whatever that would have been, and I think it was in 2017,
Okay.
18, like something like that. And when I started learning about goals and, like, you know all this all this education I got from this book, that's when I set my first ever goal. And I I was like, there's no way. I was working in a job that I was getting 678 an hour, because at the time I was still working in that leisure center. I was working in a job that I was getting 678 an hour, getting 4,500 by November was the last thing I'd be able to do. But I said, I'm going to do exactly what this book says. I'm going to believe in myself. I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to do everything I can, and this money will come from somewhere. So I started working really hard. I put 4,500 on top of the sheet. I wrote all these words, and then each little block on the sheet was a bit of money that I had earned. Um, so whether I got paid from work or whatever it is, and I just started filling in every time I got the bit of money. And then after that, I actually forgot about this sheet, but I kept working really hard, and that's when I got the new job. I started doing more things on Instagram. I got some paid promotions that companies done with me. I started getting more money, and suddenly then it was November, whatever the year was, and 6 months later, and I looked in my bank account and I looked at the sheet. Now, bear in mind, it was impossible for me to get this. If I worked 60 hours in that place where I was getting 670. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have got this money. So I was like, it was November when I looked in my bank account. I looked at the sheet. I had like 5.5 grand. So I had €1,000 more than I had written down, and I was like, wow, like this is just amazing. Obviously, the business ended up costing me a lot more than 5.5 grand, but I was just like, this is crazy. It's something else that started off with the paper belief, and it just happened in front of my eyes. So
Mm,
I just thought that was crazy, and that's, suppose, after that, then that's when I had my crash, which wasn't long ago. It was about maybe a year ago now, or 8 months or something like that. Is when I reached one of my biggest goals in my life, which was this, and I just got lost. Had no vision again. Nearly got like depressed and stuff. And I remember actually sitting in my bedroom because I lost all my routines. I lost everything. I remember sitting in my bedroom, and I made this sheet of paper, and it's called My Success So Far. And I used to stick up things on it that I did before, things that it would have been dreams before, but now I've achieved. And I
mm,
remember looking at that sheet and literally crying and going, this is how far you've gotten. You literally can't give up now, because I was literally like so bad, in such a bad state. Like, I literally crying in my own room. Ended up getting a Tony Robbins book, went for a 3 hour walk. It helped me in some way. And then I met up with one of my friends, a good friend of mine called Aaron. And I was just having a chat with him, and I was like, look, I just want to do bigger things. So I made the decision in about 10 seconds that I want to move to Cork and start a new life on my own. I was 17 when I think I moved, 17 or 18 when I moved out my house. And yeah, so I suppose after that, then when I moved into the new house in Cork, again, I still hadn't had a goal. I was lost still, back into that negative state of negative thinking. The results I was getting were negative. Broke my phone, crashed my scooter, just bad stuff happening all over again. And that's when I found my life coach, Cleona, which helped me again, helped me get back to where I was before in life. And I suppose this is where I am then today, with just bigger dreams, bigger goals written down now again, and just learned a lot through that as well. And I suppose I hit rock bottom, which taught me a lot of lessons, learned me a lot of lessons as well. And I just bounced back up now, and I bounced up higher than I ever was before. So yeah,
what were those lessons for you? You mentioned.
biggest one was that I need a goal in life. I need something to drive me. And you hear people talking about goals, and you hear people talking about this and that. But I think that the biggest one was definitely, I need a goal. I need something to work towards. I need something to look forward in life. I need to wake up every day with a purpose, and a purpose to grow. Because as you know, goals aren't just to get your Audi RS8 that's worth 200 grand to drive around in. Goals are to grow, to make you grow. Like now, setting a goal of 5,500 is nothing to me, because my financial ability has now raised above that. Because like like before, that was once a goal, but now I've achieved that. So I've now told myself, okay, that's possible. So now I know that's possible, so now I can aim higher. And again, that's where the growth happens. So yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So it's, when you're setting a goal, what's your method of setting it then?
I suppose, I don't know, like again, like with this goal even I wanted to do something bigger and better. A financial goal that, again, I'd never dream of having. And something again that's out of the norm, that's basically so-called impossible to do. But I've realized that my goal is now 1 year, but I've realized that I need to sit down and actually write long-term goals as well, because mainly my goals were only 1 year goals. So I need to write like more long-term goals as well, but also short-term. So like some of my short-term goals are now, you know, um, develop my program and stuff. And a few, I had one, yeah, one of my short-term goals was just develop my program that I'm working on now, and I want to launch that as well. So yeah, and then the other one was to do two motivational speaking seminars as well, and have like 2,000 people at them.
As you do.
Yeah. So I like, as I said, like since I've got all this education knowledge, I just want to keep sharing it. I just, as I said before, I want this education to nearly be like the coronavirus. I want people to literally
Mm,
spread it everywhere and infect everyone with it, because I just think it's the best thing that has ever happened to me and anyone I know. And I know you do it yourself. Um, so yeah, I just think it's brilliant. And as I said, with my courses, I've put all the education knowledge that I've gained to these courses to help people figure out who they are, what they want to do, what goals they want to achieve in life, and basically mentor them as well and show them that this is possible, and help them on um, any things they could be struggling with in life, and just be with them as well on their journey.
mm. What do you think makes a good goal?
What makes a good goal? Definitely something you've never done before, something that scares you, something that's so-called impossible. And again, it depends, like if it's long-term or short-term goals. But again, like you want something that is nearly impossible to reach in a way,
Mm,
because again, as I said, the purpose of a goal is to grow. So if just say, if I wrote down that I want 6,000 euro now, even though I went for 4,500. Like I know 6,000 euro would be so easy to get right now, that kind of way. So that wouldn't make me grow. Or just say if I wanted to do a seminar with 50 people, I know that I could get 50 people. So by writing down a goal of I want 50 people at my seminar, that wouldn't make me grow, because like that would be easy for me. So, I go like just say 10,000 people, you're like, how am I going to do this? How in the name of God am I going to get here? How is this even going to work?
mm,
And that's when a true goal um, is created with something. I suppose big goals are literally your dreams, something you literally dream of, and people don't realize that you can turn your dreams into reality if you just set that goal. Because I think our brain is developed to solve problems. And I think, when you set a goal, it's kind of like a problem. So your brain works to see how can I solve it? What solution can I take to solve this problem in a way, and it starts thinking of different ways to give you to achieve this goal.
that makes sense. Sort of, as you say, putting it into place. And I know obviously Bob Proctor talks about, your type A, B, and C type goals, etc.
Yeah,
The C being sort of so blisteringly big that you just can't conceive how it's possible.
yeah.
But it's so in terms of do you tend to stretch your goals out a bit longer now, or what way?
Like at the moment I actually have a 1 year goal, but I've recently been thinking about this to set 5 and 10 year goals as well, because it's something I've never actually done.
Hmm.
And again, this is what I learned from my last crash that I had, is that I need to have the next goal after I reach this, I need to
Hmm.
have something else to look forward to, because as you said, the A, B, and C goals, like my C goal now will become my A or B goal soon. And then I'll need another type C goal that scares me every day, But I think the secret, so called, to life is just to always be progressing in anything you do. You always need to be looking, higher, seeing how can I develop myself, because I think we're the most happiest when we're working on ourselves, developing ourselves, or creating, you know. I think that's when so-called magic happens, and that's when we're really happy and creative.
Hmm. That's interesting. I mean, tell me, how do you, when you're working on yourself, I mean, how do you learn?
I learn from the best. I learn from people that have experienced it. I learn from people that I relate to. Um, like listen to Bob Proctor's coaching program that I'm doing at the moment. The guy has made millions. The way I think of it is, if you're trying to learn something, you know, if you're trying to learn how to swim, and I'm trying to learn how to swim as well, or like, are you going to go to the person that has swam, I don't know, has won Olympic medals in swimming and done all this? Are you going to go to a person that has been swimming for a year? You know? So that's the way I look at things now as well, is I try to learn from the best, and I try learn from older people too. Um, a lot of my friends even and my circle now are actually a lot older people in their 30s and people in their 20s and stuff like that. So I try to surround myself with older people because they've experienced a lot of stuff that I might be going through soon in life, you know. And I remember I met one of my good friends in town when I was going through all this kind of crash, I suppose. And he said to me, you've hit rock bottom. He says, whatever goes up has to come down. So I was at the highest point in my life, and obviously, as he said, whatever comes up has to go down. So I was really motivated. I was chasing this dream, working towards this goal. I was really high, and it obviously had to come down, but I didn't know that. It's like this coronavirus, it went so bad, but it can't keep going really bad. It would be impossible for this to kill everyone, literally, I would say it'd be literally impossible for. So, we've reached our peak in the world, and now it's starting to die down again,
Mm,
and this isn't going to last forever either. And same as my motivation, my goal. But it's just learning tactics and tools to know what to do when things like this happen,
mm, mm,
like I've definitely learned a lot, um a lot about when my motivation lacks, and I just keep learning every single day about things like that, what to do when you're feeling bad. Because before, again, I would have never known, just say, when I feel like that, at that time when I was in my bed and I was feeling really bad, I would have never known what to do. And whereas now I kind of know how to deal with situations like this, and I know a lot about myself. As I said, because I think knowing a lot about yourself helps you figure
mm.
out a lot of what you want to do and stuff as well.
So what is it, or how is it that you go about helping yourself then? You're saying you recognize these traits and you see it coming. You know, what can you do to sort of, yeah, enable yourself to make that better?
Well, first of all, I have a diary here that I plan every single day in this diary for the last 2 years, and that's what I've been doing since, again, I read all these books and stuff. I plan out every single day, and I suppose they're my daily goals or targets that I want to hit, and
Hmm.
usually they're kind of the same every day. Read my book, study, do my face routine, but it's the satisfaction I get of ticking them off and knowing that you've achieved something today is what kind of makes me happy. So I suppose number one would be just planning out my day and like writing down what I need to get done and stuff like that. And then, when I start feeling my motivation lacking, well, I mainly have about 3 or 4 reasons. I haven't drank enough water. I'm surrounded by negative people. I'm listening to too much negativity, or I'm on my phone too much. Okay. So what do I do to increase my motivation, increase my energy? Well, you do exactly what you're not doing, because you know it works, because you've tried it. Like today, I still have a few bits to do that I was meant to get done this morning, but I've got about a liter and a half of water in. I try in for 2 liters plus vitamins every day. Exercise when I feel low. again, I just throw in something positive into my headphones, because again, our body's like a sponge. So whatever goes on around the outside world, we soak it in like a sponge. So if it's negative, we soak in that negativity into our body, which then turns to an emotion feeling, and we get emotionally attached to that. And if it's positive, well, then it works the other way, and our thoughts and stuff become positive too. So they're kind of the things that I would do now. And again, I would have never, I never knew about this before, and I never knew the power of all this 2 years ago, or when before I studied all this.
Hmm. Tell me this. I mean, what is mindset to you?
Mindset is everything to me. Like like as I said to you before, mindset isn't just for me to reach my goals and stuff. It's for everything. It's how you see everything in life. It's how you do everything in life. Um, and as I said, our mindset is the most powerful thing we have in our body, and yet, and not a lot of us study it. Not a lot of us know about it, and yet it's what produces your results. It's what gets you into the state you're in. It's what gets you into depression. It creates a lot of those things as well. You know, say for instance the coronavirus. A lot of us are living in fear right now. We're getting emotionally attached to negative news, which are again soaking in like a sponge. We're getting emotionally attached to those deaths and stuff again, which we're soaking in like a sponge. That creates a fear inside of us, which then gives off that energy and fear and being scared and all that. Like, and even though I'm really strong-minded and stuff, I actually went through a little phase like that for a few days where I was living in a state of fear. I was like shaking and everything, and I was really scared about whatever was going on. And I was like, hold on a minute, what are you doing right now? I was listening to news, I was scrolling through Facebook. So that's why I was creating that feeling,
Hmm.
because that's what I was doing. So I was like, right, this is it. I need to listen to positive stuff. I need to soak in positivity now to change that feeling from a bad to a good.
Hmm. No, that's really
So
strong.
yeah, like I said, mindset is everything to me, because I just think it's the most powerful thing we have. And there's two types. There's two things your mindset can do. It can destroy you, and it can really ruin your life, or it can make you the most successful and happiest person ever. It's how you use your mindset and how you use your brain and stuff like that.
It's powerful. Do you, when you're thinking, do you think visually or do you tend to think in the written word? What way do you, I don't know whether you're problem solving and things like that.
As in, like, what you mean by problem solving, or like what
I
what
suppose
way do you mean?
I can only sort of, if I explain it the way I would see it, I suppose for me, I would be low on my reading and writing skills, and this is how they diagnosed dyslexia with me. But yet on the visual and problem solving skills, I was extremely high to the point that the height of that actually pulled me above average on IQ, even though my reading and writing was below. So, and it was almost a survival instinct, or it was the sharpening of senses in some ways. Because the other thing
Yeah,
you mentioned there is, saying you're able to read people. I wonder,
yeah.
was there any connection between your way of thinking and reading people?
So yeah, I would be more of a visual hands-on learner. Um, and that's how I learn. I learn through like watching my courses, listening, um, and well, like, see, before I, how should I say this? Before in school, when I used to listen to stuff, I didn't really take it in, but now I learned obviously a lot more about repetition. And again, repetition is something we know about, but we don't know the power of. Like, when people read a book, they say, "Oh, I've read that book," but have you really gotten everything out of that book? Is another side of things. So we learn things through repetition. So even though I'm more of a visual, hands-on learner, I've now developed how to be uh, like how to learn through listening as well, which I wouldn't have been great at. But that's because through repetition, I'm like that mightn't be my strongest point now, so I might have to like listen to that over and over again. But I learn it um through listen to it, but through repetition. Whereas if you just said something to me and once or whatever, I wouldn't be great at. But if you showed it to me on a video or with your hand or something, I'd probably take it in a lot better.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's, we all learn different styles, and there's a lot of what you talked about there is somewhere between visual and kinesthetic. So the visual being, if you want to teach me, show me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
as opposed to someone else saying, if you want to teach me, tell me,
yeah, yeah,
or the other one is, if you want to teach me, let me do it, let me get my hands in and see it, you know. So no, it's interesting. So I mean, that obviously the visual and the auditory. So it appears that the auditory is probably the least of the strongest senses, but yet
yeah,
it's something there. You mix it with the visual and things like that. It all, through repetition, it's actually going to make it stronger too. If I understand that.
yeah, yeah. Repetition, I suppose, was like a really powerful thing I've learned lately.
Hmm.
Um, and again, it's simple, it's we know about it, but have we really deeply studied it? Not really, until you start studying all this kind of stuff and seeing how all this works. And again, like it's not like it's magical, half of this stuff that this new way of educating, we know it, but we don't, I think it's too simple for it to change your life so much, if you get me. It's like it's too basic that we're all looking for this big, really hard way of changing our life. But yet it's all these little small stupid things that actually do change you as a person and change your life. But yet they're so small and stupid that we actually don't believe that we can change from these.
Mm. That makes sense. You come across as extremely clear in your thinking, or it's extremely logical anyway. Very level-headed. Do you think that's a fair comment?
Level headed. What do you mean by that now?
Well, level as in, you take the question, you think about the answer, and you give a response. There's not, there's very little ego there. Certainly, very little ego comes across.
Yeah, well, like, um, with me, I'm like, I try explain things as easy as I can as well. So,
Hmm.
as I said, I was never great in school and it was hard for me to read and write. So when I read a book and I see all these big words, I'm like, I don't really like this. So this is why even when I begin to create my courses are going to be so easy to understand that no matter how smart or how dyslexic or whatever you are, you will be able to understand because I don't use big words because I'm very simple, stupid, and basic way. Like I like to explain everything like that instead of going into all these big words and this complicated way of explaining it. That kind of way.
Hmm. Hmm. No, listen, I mean, and it's a great style. Again, it shows a level of understanding when you can take the information, understand it yourself, but then also simplify and teach it to somebody else. You
Of
know,
course,
and
yeah,
and so like an Apple phone or whichever phone you have, that actually it takes a lot of skill to make something simple. You
mm,
know, so we can all be very convoluted and complicated, but
yeah.
actually, you maybe lose people in the process.
I suppose when you said you take it and you simplify it, funny enough that you say that. One of my best friends, Aaron, anytime there's big words or big sentences, he was always my friend that was like, "Here, Aaron, can you please explain this to me in my language?" And he'd always take these big massive sentences or these problems or whatever, and he'd just simplify it to my level basically.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I suppose that helped me a lot as well. So a big shout out to him if he's watching this after as well, because he really helped me to simplify stuff like that.
Hmm. That makes sense. Would you would you say you're successful?
I would say from where I used to be, yes. From where I want to be,
Mm,
No. I suppose you'll never be successful from where you want to be, I think and I think this is why I do the board that's called My Success So Far, because we're always chasing this bigger dream and bigger vision, but we don't actually look at some things we have achieved in life. That, once that clothing brand that I have on me today was a goal and a it was a goal, and it was written on a piece of paper, and now I've turned it into reality. So I suppose that kind of answers that. Yeah, that, um, I think you'll never be where you truly kind of want to be, or else you're not really growing, that kind of way.
mm. No, it's well. Sometimes for a lot of people, I would normally say that, success is the journey, not the destination. The fact that you're alive, you're trying, you're pushing, you're pulling, you're doing what you
Yeah,
can. But
yeah,
I
that's exactly it. When you set these goals, it's, if you get me that 4,500 and you get me that clothing brand at my doorstep on November whatever, or the next day or whatever, I wouldn't, you wouldn't be happy, because again, like you said, it's the journey and the destination, or it's the journey to that destination, that the growth happens and you
mm,
become a different person. It's like, if you gave me that book and it changed me in a day, which it can change you in a day, it's impossible, but it's the journey that I've went on from who I used to be to where I am now,
mm,
is what changed me as a person, what made me the person I am today. That
mm.
kind of way.
No,
So
totally.
I'd really agree with you with the whole journey thing as well.
Talk to us about your clothing brand then. How did that come about?
Again, like I said, when I was modeling for the brands over in the UK, I seen a potential in the Irish market, because there was not many Irish brands, and I just started researching into it and said, if they can do it, why can't I? And I suppose just got pen to paper, looked some stuff up online, started doing a few bits here and there, and I suppose it just kind of happened. I had a launch party then in my town, which is big massive thing that happened in this town. I got like some Instagram influencers and stuff down, and it's a crazy day. And I literally just got emotional when I launched the brand as well on the night, because it was just all this hard work, and just launched it then, and it's just amazing, I done like a countdown, launched the website with like 200 people in front of me, and it's mad, like, again, like, just crazy, crazy, crazy.
So what's the mission of the brand then?
I suppose with the brand, again, when I hit the plateau afterwards and stuff, I kind of, you know, when I started losing sales and stuff, I started getting demotivated with it, and to the point where I was like, here, I'm gonna sell this or something. And then there was something inside me that was like, there's no way you can sell this. Club Deluxe and the slogan "Don't think limits" means too much to you to sell it, and there's no value on this brand. Even though it's not a big worldwide known brand yet, there's no value on this brand. No one can give you the. And I've had investors that wanted to invest in this brand, because obviously at the moment I'm launching a new collection, but before that I only had 4 t-shirts, because obviously, at such a young age, that's all the money I had, and I never took out any loans or anything. So everything I put in was my own money that I've gotten from working really hard for it and stuff. So, but this year is going to be a really big year for us. I got my stuff together now. I found new manufacturers that allows me to do more stuff. I've a new collection on the way. After that, then we're going to be working on another collection. I've got a team behind me this year as well, for marketing and ads, and new, again, like I said, new suppliers, more contacts. Just, hoping for, it is going to be a really big year for Club Deluxe, this year, and I'm really looking forward to it, because, as I said, I lost a bit of that motivation and drive from, again, letting, I suppose, going back to the financial statement, letting that rule my purpose or my vision of this brand. It's like, if no one's buying this, well, you
Mm,
should quit, but that's not the case. if you get 100 points in your leaving cert, it doesn't mean you're stupid or something for the rest of your life. So again, I suppose that kind of relates back to that as well. How I don't let things like that control me. If I have a goal of, I don't know, getting 100 grand and I've 10 euro in my bank account, it wouldn't stop me from believing, because I think belief is the biggest thing we can do as well. If you have a belief in doing something, I know Conor McGregor talks about this a lot. If you believe in yourself and you believe that something is going to happen and you work really hard and you do it every morning and night and you just work at it really hard, with that belief, it's going to happen.
Makes sense. Just out of curiosity, where did Club Deluxe? Where did the name come from?
Yeah, so first it was meant to be called Perfit, because it was meant to be like the perfect fit brand, because these are like kind of tight enough and stuff. It was meant to be a gym brand and stuff. And then my graphic designer, when he was making the logo for me, he was like, let's use Club Deluxe, because it's a name I wanted to use before. And Club Deluxe stands for Club of Luxury. And then, yes, I asked a few friends about different names and they just loved that one. And then, I said I wanted to put a slogan to this brand, because a lot of people doubt me and disbelieved me in this brand. So that's why at the back of the t-shirts, if you flip it around, it says "Don't think limits." So that's my quote for the brand. Don't think limits in whatever you do in life.
Interesting. Mm.
So it's a nice connection, and I suppose I want people to attach to that quote as well.
Mm.
So I don't just want to sell the product; I want to sell the story and the don't think limits behind it as well.
Well, ultimately, you can see. I mean, where you're at, obviously, and so much experience, etc. That you are going to be speaking on stage and things like that. So you think you're just right to build the brand. It's much bigger than just clothing.
Exactly, yeah, 100%. And I've just looked into different things of putting little quotes on them now, and that's another thing we're going to be trying soon, is all these little different quotes, maybe a collection that has just kind of the logo, but also more of the quotes and stuff and more
Mm.
meaning to the clothes and stuff. But again, that's something I'm looking down the line and stuff. But yeah.
Well, that's some amazing vision there, and ultimately that's a bigger goal as well. It's great to see. What's your perception? Obviously, you're 18 years of age, etc. What's your perception on age?
Yeah, I suppose age is a big thing for me. Age has kind of set me back in a few different things. I suppose it's like you can't do this because you're 16, you can't do this because you're 18. I just never let age stop me from where I want to get. Like I said, if you want something really bad, uh, it doesn't matter if you need 300 points for it and you only got 200. If you want something so bad, you will get it. And even though I wanted, back when I was working in that leisure center, I wanted that job so bad that I sacrificed 7 months free work. And I built up such a relationship with them that they actually employed me, so-called illegally, kind of, so that they weren't allowed to employ me because I was like 15 or 16 at the time. I needed to be 18 to work there. But they went out with their way to do something
Mm.
for me because they seen how much I wanted it. So, and I know it's different in different areas, but I suppose that's an example of something. If you want something so bad in life, people are willing to break some rules and and things like that to help you out.
I
But I
think.
definitely think age is a big thing for me. And as I said, I hang around with older people, and even my girlfriend. Like my girlfriend is 26, so she's a lot older. Because as I said, like I associate myself with older people and stuff,
Mm.
and I I I can't really seem to fit in with the kind of 18-year-old groups. I
Hmm.
just think that there a lot of people at that age, their vision is not where I want to be, but I respect them for where they want to be or something. That kind of way.
Mm. Makes sense.
It's like a lot of my friends here. A lot of my friends have no interest in doing what I'm doing. They maybe want to work a job for the rest of their life, but obviously that's not my vision, that's not my goal. So sometimes it's very hard to relate between each other as well.
Hmm. No, it's true. I mean, there's some people that go their entire life and don't have the level of awareness that you have already. And it's fascinating. It's great to see, and I'm delighted for you. That you're on that journey. But they even just show the initiative to go out there and to work for free just
Yeah,
to
as
get that.
yeah, like in never in a million years I would have thought I'd be where I am today. I think it's just been a big roller coaster. And I think it's just trusting the process and just keep growing every year. Like, it's just getting bigger and financially, um, building as a person, just scaling every single year and just enjoying the journey, learning a lot more about myself, a lot more about life. And I suppose, I think where I'm lucky is even the coaching programs I do, I obviously a lot of the people there are adults. So I'm having in life now that people that are, you know, my parents' age or whatever it is, that they're having the same problems in life as well. So it's not just a matter of, oh, this problem lasts in your early years. Some of
Mm,
the things like how we see ourselves, at 18, just say 18-year-old girls have that problem, but also 40-year-old with problem as well, you know, their image of themselves and stuff like that. So it's very interesting to see how this stuff moves on through our life and stuff as well. And I suppose that's where my programs and stuff,
mm,
that's where I'd be teaching people a lot about all that stuff, that for you to, that to show people that this isn't a thing of this isn't a thing you just get at a young age. This can really go with you to your older life and when you become a parent or whatever it is.
mm. No, I find it fascinating. That you've been able to pick up on that. Uh, Your brothers and sisters or parents or anything like that. Is anyone else into the mindset field at all, or what's their perception of all this?
I suppose my sister mainly, but my parents, yeah, they've gotten a bit better, but it's hard to take advice from someone younger,
Mm,
and especially your own child. But I try being an example of how it really works for them to actually start using it more.
mm,
But I know sometimes situations that they get in their own marriage, like I know the answers to them and I try to explain it to them, but
mm,
it's very hard to again take advice from someone younger than you. But like I can read some of the problems and I can read, just say if my brother or whatever is negative, I know that the results he gets in his life will be negative and stuff as well. And it's very hard sometimes for me to explain that to him. And because, it's like I said, it's very hard to trust the process in a way, and how this information really works.
mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So yeah.
In terms then of influential people in your life, is there anyone that stands out?
Say that again.
Sorry, in terms of influential people in your life, who would stand out for you?
So people that kind of inspire me.
Hmm.
I suppose a lot of the things I do is just to give back to my family and stuff as well. Because obviously they've worked a whole way of working a job for like most of their life, and I kind of try to explain that to them now as well, to go off and actually do their own things and that they're truly passionate about. So I suppose, yeah, my parents and my family would be a big inspiration to me. My girlfriend, and just I suppose I kind of want to be an inspiration, or myself even I want to be an inspiration to the world then as well.
Hmm.
I just want to show people that no matter what age you are, no matter how smart, stupid you are, I want to show people that you really can take your life to the next level and you really can achieve stuff that are just way beyond what you ever would have thought of. And don't get me wrong, like I'm talking about all the positives here and the motivation, but like I do, I am a human as well. I do have bad
Mm.
days, I do have bad weeks, I do have bad thoughts, but I think I've learned how to control that now a bit better. That you know, it doesn't my life doesn't run on that all the time.
Mm.
Maybe 5% of my days could be a bit of negative or whatever, whereas before it might have been the other way around, where it was like 95% negative and 5% positive. So I try to just be real with people and just try tell people that whenever I feel good, I share stuff on my Instagram and I try help people and stuff, and share this information. But when I feel bad and stuff, I also share that you're not going to feel good every single day, and you're not going to be motivated 365 days in a year, because that would be too good. you
Hmm.
know
And out of curiosity, then, I mean, you mentioned Bob Proctor, obviously, and you briefly mentioned Tony Robbins. Is there anyone else that stands out for you there in that field?
um Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor. Not really. Like, I suppose I just listen to all of them, kind of.
Mm.
I suppose another big person recently that has kind of helped me and that has kind of inspired me was a guy actually I met through one of my good friends, Anthony Lolly. He's a multi-millionaire in and we recently actually met through Instagram, and we done a live together. And I interviewed him and stuff, and it was crazy. He actually, on the live, he actually invited me out to his house in New York. So with everything going on, I obviously couldn't go. But again, like, that's something I actually had on my vision board, to travel to New York. And when he gave me that opportunity, I was like, this is so cool. But I suppose he inspires me a lot as well, because it's someone that I kind of started talking to on a kind of a personal level now, and I'm kind of building a relationship with. And it's like, if he can do this, like, I think he's worth over 70 or 75 million. So it's like, if he can do this, and if he got to the stage in his life, it's like, why can't I? And I suppose I'm starting at even a younger age than he did before. So
Mm.
it's I suppose he'd be a kind of an inspiration recently as well. And I've read his book that he wrote as well. It's called The Heart of the Deal. So that's one of his
Okay,
books that he written. It was actually a New York Times bestseller as well. It talks about like his life and real estate and stuff like that, and a good few tips about real estate too.
brilliant. Love it. What, out of interest, what would be, what advice would you give to your younger self?
What advice would I give to my younger self? So someone that's what age now?
Whatever you choose it to be.
Say someone that's 18 and that's stuck in life and that's going through a bad stage in life, that's lost or whatever it is. I would just say take the leap of faith that I did. And like, if it's, well, I always, anything that I promote is all got to do this with this information. That's how obsessed I am about it.
Mm.
So I would say take the leap of faith. And if I like recommend a book, just take that leap of faith and try that book, or try the video, or try the course, or whatever that I do recommend, because like, it's changed my life completely, and it's changed so many other people's lives. And I just think believing that it can change your life is very difficult, because as I said, going back to school education, life education, all that, um a lot of people relate all this to school education. And yeah, so I would just say take that leap of faith, but always be willing to, if your way isn't working, try my way, try someone else's way, because
Mm.
The only way it's going to work is if you try different ways.
No, makes sense. So tell me this. I mean, fire in the belly. What does fire in the belly mean to you?
Um, I suppose it's kind of that burning desire that that kind of drives you every day, and it's kind of like that goal, um that kind of pushes you on every day, and something, that fire that makes you want to do more and stuff like that. um that's what I'd kind of relate it to.
Hmm.
That goal and that vision, and that something to look forward to every day and stuff. So that's
Would
what
you
I'd
say would you
I'd
say you have fire in the belly?
Yeah, definitely now again. Like I said, I do have bad days as well, but most of the time
Hmm.
now, about 95% of the time, I do have fire in the belly. And even like I write out my goal every morning and night,
Hmm.
and then I have a goal card that I say it uh, I say it 3 times a day. And when I say that goal, I add energy into my body, and I suppose that would be like fire in the belly. Like
Hmm.
when I read it out, I get excited about it, and I feel like it's happening.
Just out of curiosity, then, I mean, would you say that do you like yourself or love yourself?
Oh yeah, like and again, this is what I would have thought would have been bad,
Hmm.
and this is
Hmm.
what I would have been brought up to think that, by saying you're really good at this, or by saying you love yourself, or by saying all these good things about yourself, you're being cocky. But this is actually all got to do with self-image. If I don't know if you in the course I'm doing, actually the lesson I'm on now is actually self-image, and how we see ourselves is how other people will see us. So when people look at me, they see me as who I think of myself. So I think of myself as a successful person that has achieved a lot um, since where I was before and stuff. So like even my affirmations and stuff, I always start with like I am successful and I am wealthy and stuff, because our self-image is very powerful as well, because what we tell ourselves every day, we will believe in it. So if you tell yourself you're ugly, you're stupid, you're fat, and all this stuff, we will begin believing in that, and we will become creating that image of that. So yeah, it creates that self-image and what we think of ourselves and stuff. So I would like speak very highly of myself, and I suppose that's why other people think and look very highly of me as well.
No, that makes total sense, and it's great to hear it. Great to hear that that stands out for you because unfortunately, it's amazing the number of people that don't like themselves. And you
Well,
know,
I'll give you an example. My own girlfriend, she lacked with self confidence. Still does a tiny bit, but we're getting there. Um, she, she just says she's on Instagram and all this stuff, but she was at a point where she was actually afraid to show her face, and she feared um a lot of things. Like, I don't know, walking down the street, because she didn't think she was good looking and stuff. And obviously the person I am, I wanted to help her, and I don't want her to live that life, because that's, I I'd hate for anyone to live their life like that for the rest of their life, because I want people to achieve their goals and dreams, and I want them to be happy in their own body and stuff like that. So what I actually got her to do was, and again, this relates to the self-image. It was her self-image that was low, and what she was telling herself in her own mind and her thoughts and stuff. So what I got her to do was I got her to write out like 15 or 20 different affirmations. Things like I love myself, I'm beautiful, I'm confident in my own body, and I just got her to write them out every day, send it to me, and I got her to read it every day and night and send it to me as well. Anyway, 4 days later, I ring her, and she answered her phone. We started talking. I was like, "Who the hell is this?" I was like, "This doesn't sound like my girlfriend." And like through those like 4 days, she started like her confidence improved because I could actually hear it through the phone. I could hear it in her voice. She used to be really shy and, kind of under the radar kind of thing. And then she was all this big kind of open person, and it was crazy to see that by me telling her stuff to do this every day, she planted this image in her head. Now, look, it mightn't work like this for everyone because obviously, some people that are 30 or 40 or whatever might have been saying these negative things to them for so long that it might take a bit of a longer period. And again, she's still working on it now and she's still improving it. But, I just couldn't believe that it had such an impact and how she sees herself now. She's constantly improving on that self image and how she sees herself and her self love and stuff. So, self image is a big thing as well. I suppose, lucky enough that my self image was never really bad, apart from when I used to be in primary school and, I used to go into the counselor and stuff like that. So, but I can understand in some way people that have that image and how it's created, the whole kind of, I
Mm.
suppose, psychology maybe to it.
Hmm.
So, I suppose that's a kind of an example of self-image and how powerful it is as well.
Well, it's deep. I like that. It's just out of curiosity. Do you think you've ever been here before? Have you had a previous life?
And a previous life. Jeez, that's a bit of a mad question, isn't it? What do you mean? As a tree or as a dog or what?
Some people, it's different, and again, everyone's perception is different. Some people actually believe, almost their soul, and they talk about, an old head on new shoulders, and
Mm,
things like that. And certainly, someone yourself, you come across in such a way that, somebody that's been studying this for years probably wouldn't be as clear in thinking and putting it across so well, conversing so well. So I was just curious, whether that resonated with you at all.
no, not yet. maybe, maybe someday something will click in my mind or my head, and I'd be like, no, I think I was here before.
No, that's cool.
um,
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
yeah.
So what's the plans then for the future then? You're studying like mad and
Well, to be honest, I was actually, what time is it now? We have nearly 4 o'clock. I was actually meant to bring my friend at 3 and we were meant to study together and over the phone, but I think he was going to be late half an hour or something, so he'll be grand. So yeah, plans for the future. I was thinking about this recently, and I'd written down some goals and stuff I want to achieve. And, obviously, like my biggest aim is to help as many people as I can. But obviously, I do want to, like, I love business, I love making money. And, people are like, oh, you're always on about money and you're always on about making money, and it's so bad to make money. I don't think it's so bad to make money because the way I see things is the more money I make, the more money I have to give others because I really believe in giving. Like I believe you give and you will get back. So the more money I have myself, the more, homeless people I can help. And when I didn't have money, I will help with my knowledge and my education and whatever way I can help. But when I have more money, I can, do more things with that money as well, not just keep it to myself and buy myself expensive houses and cars and stuff. But yeah, a lot of people are like they want to be a millionaire and stuff. And I've been recently thinking about it. It's like, since I've kind of started talking with people that are millionaires and stuff, it's like, even though I'm not there yet, it's like a million to me is nothing. So it's like I want to be like a billionaire, a trillionaire, So it's like I kind of like even just dream bigger than, people look at a million, that's a lot of money. Whereas
mm,
since I've started hanging out with all these people, I'm like a million is nothing, even though I haven't even made it yet. But like
yeah.
my perception on that. So, but yeah, another thing in the future, obviously I have my own course and stuff. I want to buy a lot of real estate as well. That's something I really want to get into as well. And yeah, just kind of keep expanding my network, my friends, give back again to my family. That's probably the first thing I'll do, um, when I obviously, start earning more money and stuff as well, is just give back to my family first. Um, because, I if they didn't make the move to Ireland, I probably wouldn't be where I am today as well. So I suppose give back to them as well, because they've worked really hard all their life to get me some things I wanted.
That's it. It's the gratitude of where you are today. It's it's amazing. It's an amazing journey. It really is. So listen, Oscar, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. I mean, like I say, so many great insights there, and thank you so much for sharing that all with us. And I know I wish you all the best. Well, I don't say luck, but I wish you all the energy and gratitude for the future and everything that goes on. So thank you very much for
Thanks
that.
very much. And I suppose this is probably the longest podcast I've ever done. And usually I get to share bits and pieces of the story and stuff. And I suppose this podcast is definitely one of the ones where I kind of shared the overall and everything nearly.
No, that's it.
So
It's all bringing it out there and putting on the journey. So it's great. I really appreciate it. So, Oscar, thank you
that's
very
it, Christian.
much.
Thanks very much.